Of course, we are now finally into picks and bans. 1-1 the scoreline. Game 3, Misfits have chosen blue side. Victor, Lysandra, Nidalee. Bans remaining the same. We're really going to have to see how the picks evolve.
Nidalee has been banned blue side every single game, which really confuses me. I don't know why you'd ban the Nidalee. Another jungler that could work really well against the Rek'Sai.
Maybe you just want the Rek'Sai.
Maybe we just want the Rek'Sai. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Lucian is what we want gone. I think Euronics need to ban it away. They have one ban left. The Azir is still available, but we've already established that Selfie doesn't seem to put very much value on the Azir, so that Euronics can afford to leave it open. I expect them, though, to ban the Kindred, if I'm being honest. Go exactly for the same bans they went for in Game 1, and I think that's going to hurt them moving forward.
Interesting to see, of course, Rise, everything moving forward as expected in terms of bans, really taking their time on this final one. A little bit harder to choose after being beaten up in that game, but...
Oh, the Kindred comes out from Misfits, okay.
Interesting priority once again, must be trying to secure one of the junglers.
It's got to be, yeah. But now the real question... But the thing is, for Euronics now, they can actually... They don't have to ban the Lucian because they know what Misfits is going to pick. Misfits will first pick that Lucian. Euronics can get themselves the Braum and the Rek'Sai in the first rotation. Then they can go for something like the Ezreal or the Caitlyn. And with the Caitlyn, you can be quite oppressive during the laning phase. And with the early ganks that are constantly coming out from the Rek'Sai, you can set up nicely.
Yeah, of course, Lucian is going to be the final ban.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
Waiting on the first pick. Moving forward.
It's got to be Trundle, I expect, from Misfits. I feel like they've put too much value on it throughout the tournament. They think it works really nicely in the top and the bottom. It has a lot of flexibility. QSS changes mean that you can no longer use that against the Subjugate. But then the Rek'Sai.
Oh, man. Really taking their time once again. Things have clearly slowed down now that it's an even series. Misfits looked a lot more comfortable sprinting through Champion Select last time around. But now that they're down a game, really trying to figure out exactly what they need here.
Oh,
and
making me eat my
interesting
words.
shift. Made it through bans once again, not going to make it through picks, is instantly going to be picked up here in favor of Misfits. So a lot of mid lane priority, and Selfie, we don't know how comfortable he is with his champion. We haven't seen this much from him at all.
I haven't seen him play it once. It obviously had Azir was picked or banned throughout the qualifying tournament, so we're yet to see whether or not he already had an opportunity to play it. That's the big thing, but I don't think it's one of his comfort champions. I don't think it's something that he just falls back on whenever he needs to. I don't think it fits his playstyle.
We're gonna have to see. Overall, maybe not a champion he's quite as comfortable on, but you know, once again, the unknown here. Moving forward, though, it doesn't look like we're going to see the same mid lane priority show up here from Euronics. We are going to see the Echo coming out, as well as the Rek'Sai. So, tanky, pseudo-engage, and I feel like there's really not a whole lot better combos than the Echo coming in with the Rek'Sai. Thank you. English is evading me right now because you can chain the knock-up into that CC, and it feels like if you want to gank, you have a perfect early game gank set up for Echo here if they decide to pair those two together.
And now I'm wondering what Misfits pick up, because they're going to have to shift away from their typical priority in champion select. They've decided to pick up the early Caitlyn. I largely think this is to take away from Cedron. As we mentioned earlier, Yuki has not played Caitlyn once this tournament. He has been heavily focused on Lucian, Ezreal, Sivir. These have been his three. He's put more emphasis on the Ezreal more than anything else. And so the fact that they picked up Caitlyn, I mean, I would argue that as an AD carry, you should be able to play all AD carries. Fundamentally, they are the same. I know some AD carries are going to get mad at me for saying that, but
the fundamentals are the same. Fundamentally, they're not all the same.
Yes, but the mechanics of the AD carry means that you can be quite widespread in your champion pool, even if you haven't got that much experience on the champion. And so that means that Cedron immediately going to answer back with the Ezreal. I feel like Euronics have to go for a lane swap.
Yeah, in addition, they have the Bard as well. We've seen this be very powerful early on, but I want to jump back onto the Azir pick for Selfie just briefly as we see the comps unfold. That is 50% win rate overall in this tournament. Not in the hands of Selfie, but 3-3 in wins and losses. And this
including last game.
Yeah, and this is really, I mean, his first time showing on this, there is a lot of pressure, and that variance in win rate, that 50% win rate, it really is going to come down to individual skill here in the mid lane. And to be fair, I think that's his stomping ground. Individual playmaking seems to be where Selfie really does shine.
Okay, so mid laner options for Euronics. Kassadin could be one of them. Kassadin does a great job of sitting on top of his face. Yes, Kassadin's going to have a horrible time during the laning phase, but Kassadin can be a real nuisance for that Azir towards the mid and late game, and he can match in terms of scaling. He has good itemization to deal with the Azir, and I think it could be a good option for Euronics.
And as predicted, while we wait for Euronics to really take their time on that final pick here, we do see the Elise come in as well as the Braum. Braum, standard, what we've come to expect. With the Elise, this is the shift that you were talking about. More focus on this early game presence. No longer the farming jungler like Graves, instead looking to match the early game pressure.
And now you're getting this really nice pick potential that Misfits have. Maybe moving back towards that skirmish style of play that they've relied on throughout this tournament, and the play style that they are extremely comfortable on. When you have the Caitlyn and the Braum, you can do quite well at catching people off guard from range, quickly stack up those Winter's Bites, as well as all the concussive blows, as well as the Elise Cocoon landing.
Into the trap, and you can just chain that CC so well overall. And that's not an R mid lane. That's an Echo mid lane.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Woo! Okay, I love Echo mid lane because ever since they made the changes to his ratios, I was like, Echo mid, yes, he is super cool now because his ratios are a little bit insane. I've been talking about how we need more Echo up in the top. He needs to get that Rod of Ages. Now they're definitely going to be building some damage in the mid.
See, you say that, but every time we see Echo in the mid lane, it's tank Echo mid.
Yeah, but no, stop. No, don't crush my dreams now. It's got to, I'm expecting. Let's not forget, okay? Let's not forget. Abyssal Zhonya's has almost become like the go-to core in mid laners right now. If you're not a mid lane mage, like the Azir Victor, you're shifting towards Abyssal Zhonya's because that additional cooldown reduction is so valuable. So what I'm thinking, Abyssal into the Zhonya's, into the Lich Bane, gives you so much cooldown reduction on top of the Echo, and because of his insanely high ratios, that'll also give you enough ability power to do a lot of damage.
I feel like if you are 100% right on this build path, anytime I try to contest you with the point ever, you're just going to look at me with like a sly grin like, oh, really? Do you remember that time I got the Echo build perfectly and called that it would be mid lane?
I would never do that to you, Steve. Never. Anyway.
I don't believe you for a second. But we have seen a huge shift in focus here. In addition to the more interesting mid lane Echo pick from Felix, not a control mage. No. Really more of that assassin style pick. Still has good teamfight pressure, but the jungle once again has to be our focus. And Wisdom picking up the Elise. It's Elise versus Rek'Sai, not a matchup we've seen yet.
Whoa, you say it has to be our focus. It should be our focus, but let's just quickly rotate back to the mid lane because for 2 seconds, just for 2 seconds, I really want to talk about this matchup, okay? Because it's melee versus ranged. Azir is super obnoxious during the laning phase. He's going to be pushing that Echo around. You have to go TP in this matchup because you need it for the laning phase. The Corrupting Potion will only help you so much against that push, but once Echo has completed that Abyssal, this matchup can turn on its head, because what Azir hates more than anything is to have you sitting on his face. And what's even more annoying, right, is when he uses his ultimate to knock you back, maybe into the turret, you have what you like to call the snapback, and it'll just instantly pop you behind the wall, and you're back within range of the Azir again. So it can work out towards the Echo in his favor, depending on how many items he gets, and it depends on how oppressed he gets during the laning phase.
We're going to have to see, because it has been all about that early game pressure in the mid lane. You can see a little bit of vision going down, but it looks like for the first time, we will have standard bottom lane bot lanes. No Australia lanes, nothing non-standard here.
I don't know about that. We can see the rotation coming out.
No.
You kind of have to avoid that the Ezreal into Caitlyn. It's way too oppressive to deal with. I think this is smart from ESG. This time, Misfits not going to be matching it. And so now we can see the setup of the lane swaps. How well can both teams deal with the changes to the new patch? You have to remember, the experience changes now mean that it's not as efficient to go for the double jungle. It looks like that ESG actually is starting on the weak side of the map, which means that they're just going to stick to their half of the jungle because the Elise hasn't been pushed off that blue buff. It looks like Misfits didn't even read the lane swap whatsoever, so a bit of a misplay from them as Dreams. Now, he's going to try and interrupt this blue buff, which I think is a little bit unfortunate for ESG. They should have started on the blue. I think it was a mistake of them because now that Dreams is here, he's going to force them away from that objective, and that means that Misfits can very easily get themselves 3 buffs.
Yeah, and you can see Haddow just a little bit behind the curve here.
Yeah.
Running into the jungle a bit too late to harass and slow this down, and that means Misfits are going to have a distinct advantage in the jungler and the top laner. So much time bought in the favor of Misfits by Dreams, bullying out on the bottom side there.
Very surprising from ESG. They were the ones that set that one up. Haddow, super late on actually moving towards the blue buff. I think it was because he saw Alphari up in the lane, and so he wanted to put a bit of harass down in the 1 versus 1. He thought, oh, well, Alfari's not going to be scared off very much, so I need to go for the play. But now what you're going to have is obvious. Playing Rek'Sai, you don't need the blue buff. You're not going to fall behind that much by losing it. You're just going to lose a little bit out on experience. So he's going to go pick up his reds, and that means that Phones is immediately going to be moving around to the lane. He does have 3 CS, so he was given a couple of the small monsters in each of the camps. But now that he's joined his team, he's going to start setting up the push onto the turret.
Hoping to get level 2 shortly. Not too crucial at this stage of the game, as it looks like tower trade will be in effect. Big question coming in next is what the big move is going to be looking forward. Of course, you can see Azir taking the pressure advantage here. Wave will crash into Felix, but he is a little bit behind at this point in the game.
Decided to actually go back very early on, pick up that Dark Seal. Maybe Felix feeling pretty confident that he can make good use of it moving forward. I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to pick up a second... he picks up a Doran's Ring. But now moving forward in terms of the lane swap, it looks like that Misfits are a little bit behind on the tempo. They weren't quite able to pick up that turret, which will hurt them a little bit, because now ESG is going to be able to send their bottom lane back into the standard lane for them, which means that they can get the shove on a little bit sooner. Misfits is going to be delayed. Okay, so this is interesting. This is the big change that we were discussing, because now the Dragon has so much more impact in these lane swaps, and teams will often prioritize this Dragon so that they can just get it early on, they can start stacking up. And now what Misfits need to do is send their duo lane back to the bottom. They need to go back to standard lanes. This is going to hurt Alfari a little bit, because Phones will have set up the top lane to set up a bit of a freeze, as Wisdom forced to burn his flash. Overcommitting just a little bit for that Scuttle Crab. He does end up picking that one up. But yeah, you need to go back to standard lanes now if you're Misfits, because if you go back, if you try to continue on with the lane swap, you're going to lose way too much tempo after trying to pick up that Dragon.
Yeah, you can see 3-17 the score line in the top laners, and they're really the ones who suffered. Alfari not able to grab much of anything there. 8% AD and AP, not going to be too impactful for him at this stage of the game.
No, it certainly isn't.
Looking to the mid lane as well. Echo, of course, an exciting pick, an interesting pick, but not one that's doing well in the mid lane so far. Felix still trading Humphrey, but falling behind in terms of CS. However, Rek'Sai's waiting over the wall. You could see the setup here with the parallel convergence.
This is just how you'd expect the matchup as an Echo. You're going to fall behind. You are melee into range. Just kind of what happens, unfortunately. And as you can see from Misfits, they have returned to their standard lane. So because ESG were able to set themselves up the early siege, they are actually currently pushing Misfits underneath the turret, but without a turret available for Cedrian and Hanout, they need to be careful. They don't have very much vision in the bottom half of the map. Obvious needs to be spending a bit of time there, but because of how overextended Phones is right now, he wasn't quite properly able to get the bounce back in his lane. Phones needs to be very aware of a possible gank coming out from Wisdom as well.
Have to respect it. Of course, this is one of the first full-on lane swaps we've seen in terms of early tower trades in this series so far, and it does seem like it's mitigated a lot of the early playmaking ability for these junglers.
Certainly has. Obvious hasn't been able to find any real opportunities, but the same goes for Wisdom. And moving forward, now that we're back into standard lanes, that could very well change. The positioning of these laners is so important. Hado needs to be very mindful of the vision, and the same goes for Phones, because... Oh, Wisdom.
Oh, Wisdom. He's going to try to make it out of this one. Quick hop over the wall. The pushed up wave going to be his key out of there. Selfie actually going to get stunned up. Felix doing a lot of damage. That is a fast trade, but Thunderlord's proc balancing it out.
Oh, I was just keeping my eye on the ultimate of Felix. He could have decided to go back on it, but because of the cooldowns, decided not to. Felix, if he wanted, could also go for the Morello into the Abyssal build, then move towards the Rylai's and take any value away from the Lichbane. That is also a build path that he could go towards. Now the Morello Nomicon gives you that flat 20% CDR, as well as the Grievous Wounds it can apply to targets that have a certain health threshold, and it just gives you flat mana. So that can be quite valuable for Echo, who typically has quite a small mana pool.
Feels like it hits all the points you need from a mage item as a whole. Not really focused on any one thing, but a lot of the things that you do want. Ability power, mana, cooldown reduction, bonus little effect of that healing reduction as well in those situations. However, Selfie could be in trouble here. Going over the wall, knockup gonna go down. There's no way he makes it out as... No! Obvious. He makes it over the wall. Not gonna get burned down. Selfie! Fancy footwork.
That is so good for Selfie. The fact that he was able to survive that is massive, as now Wisdom may have been caught out. No.
Oh, it's moving in. Magic Felix is incredibly mobile. Watch this Echo. Coming over the wall. Phase dive goes in. Going forward. 2 stacks, 3 stacks of the Z-Drive Resonance. First blood goes over to ESG. They may not get Selfie, but they have to be happy with the Spider.
So they make up for the fact that Selfie doesn't drop by catching Wisdom out of position. He wanted to get himself the Scuttle Crab. Phones reads it. He goes to the collapse. And then because there's no flash available on Wisdom, ESG pick themselves up first blood. Great way to come back into this, as MagiFelix desperately needed that kill after the CS deficit that he's currently sitting on.
Absolutely did. And of course, not balancing out the gold 100% quite yet.
Oh.
Still slightly in the favor of Azir, although that could change moving forward now that he does have a bit more magic resistance.
So I just had a look. Oh, we're actually going to get a replay of that, which is great.
Sick.
So just keep an eye out, right? Selfie gets CC'd for a long time, but I want you to keep your eye on the Z-Drive Resonance. MagiFelix gets knocked back enough that the return doesn't actually, it's not in a position to get himself the kill. So well played by Selfie, not having to burn his flash there, and just great use of skills and good patience to get himself out of that one.
End of the day, Magic Felix, though, does still pick up that first kill. Selfie, determined to pick up this blue buff, wants to be able to harass out here, but Magic Felix may not be giving it up so easy. Had out on the way in, Echo hopping over. Oh, the stun! Just gonna hop right back out, but Bones moved in. Moment of miscommunication from the team. They wanted the setup, but it looks like temper's a little bit too high, a little bit too eager to make those plays, not communicating with each other. As a result, TP from Gnar does go down, and Trundle going to be very happy to be able to pick up the farm on the top side.
Big stun coming out from Magi as well. I thought that was great for him, but now he's being collapsed on.
Oh, dances into the cocoon. Beautiful from Wisdom going forward. Is going to look to make it over the wall. Flash over, does get the stare, but no, Wisdom looking for a bit of revenge. Moving in, gives the kill over to Selfie. 1 for 1, the score now.
Great predict coming out from Wisdom, using that Elise to perfection to set up the CC needed to allow Selfie and Wisdom to get the damage down and get themselves a return kill. Really nice execution. And, I mean, that was just demonstrating the wiseness in Wisdom's play. Wiseness, is that even a word?
Wiseness? Yeah, sure. The truth is, I don't really know. I assume wiseness is a word. But we know what you mean. Selfie. Gonna take a little bit of damage there, but Bones is the one in trouble. TP's coming in. Bones, no Mega Gnar. He needs more time to build up that Rage. Not gonna get it, though. Magic Felix running forward. Alfari determined to do something. Rage slowly stacking. Hyper, movement speed, making it out. The Phage keeping him alive. He's gonna get Mega Gnar soon. Wisdom goes down to the backside. Alfari!
Oh, my word!
Oh, the long, slow goodbye. My God, Bones, great use of the passive there, and an excellent TP from Magic Felix. 3-1 the score. Misfits may have the gold lead, but the play is going in favor of Euronics.
There's nothing more depressing than chasing after a target with no mana, no CC, enough to close the gap, and Phones just dancing on the edge of Alfari's attack range to buy enough time to get the Mega Gnar, as well as buying enough time for Magi to join the fray and help pick up a double kill over to ESG. Really good use of the teleport. Magi, he's going to suffer even more in the farm department, but with the kills he's picking up, he's not going to care. So have a look at this. Phones burns his flash to create a gap between him and Wisdom, and then when MagiFelix joins, he just pounds down onto Wisdom. I mean, Wisdom doesn't have enough defensive stats. Going for the Runic Echoes, it's just, you're not tanky enough to deal with Magi at this point.
You can see how much more damage the AP Echo actually does, and Phone's glad to have that kill. CS finally evens out. Hado in trouble, though, going over the wall. Dreams following. The stun is going to come out, but they're not going to get 2. Yuki on the way through. Everyone's going through the journey. Magical as it may seem, Hado is going to drop in the end. Misfits getting the return kill. Cedrian next on the menu. Are they going to dive this? Doesn't look like it. Misfits making some moves.
A lot of hate towards Hado. They definitely wanted to get the kill onto him. He's only level 5, didn't have the Tempered Fade available. This is the risk that you have when you have no turret behind to hide behind us. Oh, Wisdom takes a bit of poke.
Wolf Spirit still going in the favor. Misfits in that exchange, but a lot of small skirmishes across the map, but Phones is pushing in the top lane in the meantime. Trying to throw down that pressure. Really interesting play coming in from both sides. Very aggressive. Misfits looking to take a dragon here. This is their second of the game. Doing a good job on this neutral objective control, something we were critical of them before. But now moving to take Mountain and Infernal, 2 incredibly strong dragons. Magic Felix looking for the stun. Is just going to knock himself back into the parallel convergence for safety. Looking for the ult, not quite yet. Wisdom going to grab this one, but it means the rest of the team for Misfits is going to head to that mid lane.
So it's nice to see the adaptations from both teams moving into Game 3. We see the early aggression being matched by Wisdom on this Elise. And to be honest, Obvious hasn't really been doing anything. Currently sitting at 0-0-0, mostly just playing for Vision at the moment. But other than that, he's yet to have a real impact. After picking up this Rift Herald, maybe he can do a little bit more. But he's not quite matching the aggression of Wisdom.
We have to praise him, though. He is getting a decent CS lead, and despite the moves being made by Wisdom, things are still working out for the team overall. And really, I think Gnar, of every character in the game, uses this buff the best from what we've seen from top laners.
I don't know, Fiora was pretty terrifying when she had it.
Fiora was pretty terrifying, too. But for Trundle, I feel like the most irritating thing in the world is the mini Gnar.
Definitely. Going for that Black Cleaver first, not really a surprise. We've seen a lot more value on it since the cost changes have come into effect. It does look like the Echo has decided to go for the very early Abyssal Scepter to deal with the double AP of Elise and Azir.
Oh.
Next on the menu, I expect to be the Zhonya's, so that you can be a little bit more dangerous on the front line, but not only that, the Zhonya's buys time for your ultimate to catch up with you. So the moment you come out of it, you can pop the ulti, and then you can get a huge amount of damage down if people aren't prepared for that snapback.
And of course, Echo, buffed ratios on a lot of his abilities. Ultimate, still level 1 at this point, but will be doing about 400 damage at this point in the game, so
I
really
think it's got
powerful.
It's got like a 3 ratio on it, I think. Or maybe it's been a little bit... When it was released, I'm pretty sure the ratio on it was about 3.
It wasn't 3. It was very high. It's about 1.2 on the current patch. So
okay, I'm way off there. 'Cause I remember reading it thinking, that is horrible. What?
No. You're thinking of parallel convergence. The shield ratio on parallel convergence was insane.
Okay.
Fat
Mixing
shields.
those two up, yeah. Mixing those two up.
Yep. Echo mostly dominant in that top lane, but doing very well in the mid lane thus far. Still suffering in terms of the CS department. Overall gold still in favor of Azir, but only by a small margin here. Oh. Magic Felix actually going to sidestep the Cocoon this time. Still a lot of aggression. Azir throwing down a lot of damage with the Sand Soldiers. Just to trade to cooldowns. Oh, looks like it might be the commit. Rek'Sai's coming in from the side. I don't think they have the CC to follow this up. Selfie trying to make a play. Great magical journey to disengage. Just a short hop over the wall there to get Bard to safety.
I like that response from Hado. He read the play onto Selfie, was able to avoid it, as now the pressure is coming out from Misfits onto the middle lane. However, they're actually keeping Caitlyn up into the top side of the map. They want to keep that split push pressure going. They don't want to allow Phones to be in a 1 versus 1 because that will take away the lead that Yuki has been able to accrue. And this level 10 Caitlyn is really strong, and it's going to scale very nicely up against this Ezreal.
Yep, dishing out a lot of damage there, just trying to make it hard for Cedric to lay down that poke. Magic Felix moving up, though, ready to respond. Doesn't want to give this tower up quite yet. But in the mid lane, Selfie and the rest of the team determined to take mid. ESG just going to have to give this one up. Obvious poking his head in, but it's too little too late. Misfits extending their gold lead at maybe 2-3 in the kill score, but the 2K lead for Misfits is starting to pay off.
Misfits playing around objectives very well, something that they have done. Not so much towards the neutral objectives, but that has changed in this game, having picked up both of the early dragons, the Infernal Drake and the Mountain Drake. Now ESG, they want to try and get a bit more control themselves, so they're going to pick up themselves the Scuttle Crab, and they're going to be patient. You can see now Magic Felix having picked up that Phoenix Codex. That could be moving towards the Morellonomicon, or it could be the Zhonya's. It depends on how much value he has.
Or one of the other multitude of items that now have cooldown reduction.
Another Abyssal Scepter.
You never know, man. You never know.
I think it would be wildly inefficient to get another Abyssal Scepter, but yeah, he could.
Solid analysis. Passive is unique. You cannot stack it.
Yes, you cannot.
Of course, that is going to be 30% cooldown reduction coming in from the Echo at this stage of the game. So working his way towards 40. In addition, the AP build starting to be a little bit more favorable as repeated changes come in, reducing those base damages and further upping those ratios.
Yep, indeed. Now we are hitting a bit of a lull between the two teams, both playing quite passively. No massive early game leads built up. As Yuki taking a bit of damage.
That's 2 stacks, looking for the third, really needs this. Is going to make it out of that one. Now Fari looking for the fight, but may have overstayed his welcome. Oh no, it's the rinse and repeat. Phone's running away. It's the mini Gnar. You wanted to chase it once before. You tried to chase it again. Fari, you just keep biting off more than you could chew, but oh my god! pop goes the mid laner. Misfits with 3 members. No opportunity for Echo to make his way out of that one.
I'm hoping we can get a replay of how MagiFelix ended up getting caught out right there, because things were looking pretty positive for him as he got a lot of damage down onto Yuki. But in the bottom half of the map, it looks like Alfari wasn't expecting the collapse to come down from both Obvious and Phones. Phones' Meganar had just ran out, so Alfari was taking advantage of that. And if it was the 1 versus 1, there's a good chance Alfari could have been the one to come out ahead. But because Obvious was there to provide support, he was quickly able to help guarantee that kill. Yes, Obvious did have to use the flash, so Alfari was able to burn both the flash of Phones and Obvious, and they couldn't get the tier 2 turret, so overall Misfits were actually the team that come out ahead right there.
Absolutely, and I think really it's been a trade back and forth, but that one working out much better overall for Misfits. Still managing to grab that kill, still managing to take down that tower. 3-2 now the tower score, but ESG did get some damage on the bottom side. And now we are going to get that replay you asked for. We can watch exactly how this went down.
So the actual problem for MagiFelix right there was he decided to go back and be aggressive onto Dream. So when Wisdom actually joined the fray, it was so easy for him to land that cocoon because there were no more escape abilities for MagiFelix. And it
Fog
was
of War
just
as well.
Yeah, Fog of War.
Chain CC, beautifully played by Misfits.
Yep. Second Infernal Drake of the game right now. Misfits likely to pick this one up.
Why is it that every time there's a Nazir in the game, there's just a chain spawn of Infernal Drakes?
It's only been 2. That's the second Infernal Drake of the game. The second one was the Mountain Drake, and now Mountain is going to be up next. So we do have the rise of the Misfits Volcano right now, as Dragon priority heavily going in the favor of Misfits.
Yep, going to be incredibly easy to burn down those towers. Take the Baron if they want it. Really solid objective control from this team once again. We've seen them just increase their priority on it over the course of this tournament. The map would be relatively even, but you can see the CS differential is actually starting to grow very rapidly. 201 to 156 in the mid lane, 190 to Ezreal's 169, and Trundle, despite everything else, still even with the Gnar.
Yeah, Alfari doing a good job demonstrating that even though the matchup can be quite difficult for the Trundle, that as long as he can do a good job of farming underneath his tower, he should be fine. Right now, both solo laners going into the side lanes, pretty much just to collect the farm that the other top laner is pushing towards them. You're now at a point in the game where you can't really afford to go past the river because of a lot of towers being taken and losing a lot of vision control. So now the top laners are just going to try and receive the farm. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a return of Phones up to the top lane. Or they actually just invest MagiFelix up there. So it seems that a priority is slightly shifted for ESG, and they want to make sure that Magi is in a position to carry rather than, or at the expense of Phones losing a bit of CS and putting himself at a bit of danger right now.
You can see Ezreal just taking up cleanup duty in the mid lane there. Bard and Rek'Sai, the jungle support duo, roaming around to put down some vision. And Phones relegated to just catching the wave at this point on the bottom side. Doesn't want to move past that river, as you said. They put their vision on the top side, though, so MagiFelix will feel comfortable to keep the pressure up.
Does seem that way. They've also got a lot of vision around the top half of the map, so Obvious is telling MagiFelix, yo, bro, you're fine, you're safe. And, oh, actually, this is a lot of damage that had come down earlier on from Phones. I don't think they're going to be able to pick up the turret. MagiFelix doesn't want to overcommit too much, but he will keep his presence known up in that top lane.
Wants to be there. Braum moving up as well. Just trying to match the pressure on the map. Yuki, that's a beautiful trap line, my friend. That's what we praise veteran Caitlyn's for their beautiful trap lines. Yuki, clearly comfortable on the champion. Fundamentals coming through.
So if you had a 1-for-all and 10 Caitlyn's, do you think you could type out help in the river?
Yes. 10 Caitlyn's? You get 5 traps of Caitlyn?
That's what?
One
50
H
traps?
line is 5. Like, you could make an H line with 4 traps. So I feel like, yeah. 2 Caitlyn's could make an H.
Nice.
So I feel like you could definitely get E, L, and P.
I think you could be quite innovative with the words that you make, as Wisdom takes a chunk of damage.
Oh, moving forward, trying to maybe overstaying his welcome, but MagiFelix taking a lot of tower damage as well.
That looks to me like Zhonya's second item coming out for the Echo. As Abyssal Zhonya is going to be nice, tanky, enable that MagiFelix to get onto the front line. Cedrian, there goes 50% of your health.
The joys of playing against Caitlyn here.
Yep.
Cedrian, once again, he's just trying to clear the waves. Caitlyn just trying to make sure that it's not a comfortable experience. And Alfari getting aggressive. Not at all scared of the Mega Gnar. Knows he can out-tank him. Just has to worry about that Mininar form as the Rage will slowly expire here.
So I really like the way in which Phones is playing, because he's playing around the vision that Obvious set up in the top half of the map. He knows where Wisdom is right now, so he knows that he can afford to be more aggressive. And this is smart from Wisdom. This is, if you want to go past the river, you just need to make sure that you have vision of the enemy jungler, because that enemy jungler will be the guy looking to try and collapse on you.
That, of course, is the case. Despite all the impact the junglers were able to have in the previous game, though, both of them a little bit less active. MagiFelix, though, looking to make some plays. Is going to get stuck onto Selfie there. Selfie tries to take him away to safety, but a lot of return damage. No use of the Chrono Break quite yet from MagiFelix. Selfie, as the game progresses, just feels like he gets more and more comfortable in these trades.
Yeah, he certainly is. Being level 14, as well as having completed 2 major items, along with working towards that Abyssal Scepter. I mean, the Echo, I think once the Echo, if the Echo decides to go for Lich Bane next, I think that the Echo will come out in a straight up 1v1. But Selfie has a number of options. You can just keep Echo at a distance because you have that kiting ability. You're surprisingly mobile on the Azir, and there's lots of outplay potential. I just think in terms of a straight up, if both just sat there and did all their damage, it would always be the Echo coming out on top. So as long as Selfie is aware of the damage and respects it, there's no reason why he can't outplay Magi.
I gotta say, for an ability called Ace in the Hole, it's fired out pretty willy-nilly for damage. Cedrian and Haddow have hit been hit by the vast majority of those, and she literally ults every time it's off cooldown.
Yep. I mean, it's hard to land it in teamfights. I mean, it's not, I would argue it's not that efficient to use in teamfights. It's much better to just use it as a bit of a zone control tool, get that bit of poke down. It's also a way to test how much damage you have, because you can use it at varying levels and varying items and be like, oh, so I do that much damage now. Okay, guys, I'm going to power spike, because Cedric might be caught.
Dreams trying to get the predict on that winner's bite, but Cedrian with excellent patience is going to be able to dodge out of both of those abilities. Braum ult now down. But Misfits taking the pressure they put down as an opportunity to try to steal red. Little do they know, Obvious already there. Things continuing to be relatively passive. We're at the 25-minute mark. 3K gold in favor of the Misfits. 3 dragons as well. Things going quite well for them so far, even if the kill score not quite in their favor.
All right, so things slow. Dragon next to spawn. I feel like this is going to be the next point of contention between the two teams. You can't really afford to give Misfits that second Mountain Drake, because it does mean that your Baron taking potential is going to be all the more stronger. The thing for ESG right now is they do want to scale, but they have now just hit their power spike. Caitlyn ideally wants to wait for 3 items.
Ooh,
and here comes the play.
Caught. Maybe looking to make the play here. Yuki not going to get stunned up to flash out. Dreams giving his life in the exchange. TP canceled on both sides. ESG now poised to take down the middle lane. No Braum there to block out True Shot Barrage, although it's not going to hit any minions.
So just as we talk about it, ESG
oh my gosh,
finally look to make a fight happen, and they're actually able to get the pick. So they're trying to use their power spike advantage. The 2 items done for Magi, the 2 items done, as well as the Muramana in particular done for Cedrian. They want to try and capitalize on the fact that Caitlyn not so strong in the mid game. As Selfie
knocked back coming in, snapback just as fast. Selfie, that's half your health for that ultimate. MagiFelix trying to run to safety. Haddow actually just going to get popped instantly, but Obvious moving forward. His tanky stats are gone. Bones is running in. Alfari just doesn't care. Still moving forward. Ezreal coming over the wall. The fight in the jungle continues. Yuki, he's got the damage, but he does not have a target to hit. So many blows being traded back and forth. MagiFelix, of course, making it out to safety on the top side, but ESG now setting their sights on this Mountain Drake.
Strange positioning coming out from Haddow to be playing that aggressively towards the enemy red. I could see that he was trying to follow up a play onto Obvious, which ended up backfiring horribly, giving away his life, and the Alfari demonstrating how irritating this Trundle looks to be, because if you just take away all the tanky stats of Obvious, he then just becomes this very squishy Rek'Sai that you can quite easily shred through. So Misfits looking much stronger now, moving towards the 30-minute mark, and they should be able to pick up their 4th dragon of the game.
3K gold lead, no vision, as pointed out by the observers, ESG. They know this one's going to drop. They're not going to grab the specifics, and that is really rough, because not only did they grab the 2nd Mountain Drake, not only do they have 2 Infernal Drakes, the next one to spawn is Infernal as well. And these are the most powerful dragons, Mountain and Infernal respectively.
Especially for this composition of Misfits as well, where you have a Caitlyn and you have an Azir, which is really good at sieging, and the Mountain Drake's just going to further facilitate that. So Misfits getting everything that they need right now, and they're just slowly bleeding ESG out. And ESG need to find some kind of play. They tried to make a proactive pick in the mid. They were able to get it, but then they didn't turn it into anything. Hado ends up giving a pick in return, trying to make that aggressive steal happen in the enemy jungle. And yeah, and one thing I do want to backtrack on is notice that if Selfie is the one to engage onto Magi, Selfie actually puts himself in a very dangerous position. He needs to wait for Magi to make the play onto him. And once again, Selfie trying to get a bit of damage down.
Moving forward, no snapback from Echo just yet. Maybe looking to use it. Isn't going to get the damage down, though. Just has to try to make his way to safety. Parallel convergence is going to drop. Big shield onto the Echo, trying to get the mobility. Uses the Zanyas, but this is going to be it. And the kill finally goes down. Wisdom now on a rampage. 4-2-1 is scoreline. Yuki, the back gets denied. ESG are moving into the mid lane, but they've lost their mid laner, and Misfits are descending upon them.
So the big difference this time is that Magi, he gets collapsed on by multiple members of Misfits. He thought that it was the 1 versus 1. He ends up getting punished for it. Misfits now with the numbers advantage. They want to try and make a play on the Baron.
Moving in, this could be a big fight. TP coming over the wall, Obvious, maybe looking to get the steal. Bard, gonna hit the jungler. Obvious should be able to take this one. Can they burn him down? No! The Baron still going over to Misfits. In the end, Magical Journey carrying the team to Cedrian running for his life, but the 4-kill Elise is hunting him down. Misfits, they're gonna grab 3 kills as well as the Baron. Disaster strikes for the side of ESG.
Smart play coming out from Misfits to force that fight, knowing that, hey, we're quite strong right now. They don't have their biggest damage dealer, and in a Baron fight situation, ESG just aren't gonna be able to outtrade us. Even with a fantastic Tempered Fate, buying time for ESG, there just wasn't enough follow-up damage to get the Baron low enough to secure it with a smite, which resulted in Selfie actually securing it for Misfits. So what you're going to see here is the teleport comes out from ESG. They're sitting on the outside of the pit. The Tempered Fate onto Wisdom and Selfie is huge, but the Baron's just going down so slowly that when you have the smite from Wisdom combined with the damage from Selfie, that's enough to pick it up. ESG had committed fully to actually getting the Baron rather than forcing a fight, which then results in Misfits being able to reposition and get themselves a couple extra kills.
Yep, Cedrian. Oh my gosh, this is not what you want. Pillar over the wall. Decent damage coming out from the Caitlyn. Those crits already hitting so hard. Misfits now poised to siege up. Trapline goes down. Not quite perfect. Last one. A little less than straight.
It's not good enough, not up to your standards.
Nope. Perfect trap lines. Perfect trap lines. Perfect cocoons. ESG getting locked up. Tower going to fall. Slow systematic taking of these tier 2 towers as Misfits now shift up to the top lane. Azir, interestingly enough, the split pushing threat from this squad. It feels pretty comfortable to duel it out with this Echo.
Yep, right now Misfits, they have the Baron, they have the siege potential with the Caitlyn.
With
ESG,
the double Mountain Drakes.
The only way that ESG can really force a fight is if they use the Tempered Fate, and so far that has not been working out for them. And Misfits are just going to slowly bleed out this game as the TP comes in from Misfits.
Oh, Phones maybe looking to make a play. That's a huge potential shift, but no one follows up. Tower goes down. Obvious off to the side. Elise goes up in the air, drops back to the creeps into safety. Phones, Mini Gnar instantly popped. Metafelix has to snap back to safety, but the flash forward. Caitlyn, decent damage. Maybe looking to pick up the kill over the wall. Metafelix going to get dropped by that crit. Misfits now moving into the base. They can end this one out. 3 members are down. They're on the towers. They're going to break the Nexus. The last stand from Cedrian and Obvious, not enough. And Misfits are going to advance to their 2nd win in the series.
Much slower, much more controlled game coming out from Misfits this time around. And it was largely due to the lane swap, I do feel. You mentioned it very early on, this lane swap not really allowing any sort of early jungle pressure to start any kind of snowball, but we also had 2 more ramp-up sort of games. The scaling compositions we saw from both teams. Echo very reliant on items, Azir the same, Caitlyn the same, Ezreal the same as well. And I think it just came to a matter of Azir does outscale the Echo. Yes, in a 1 versus 1 they do well, but you're still a melee assassin that has to dive onto the backline and into multiple members. It's quite easy to lock him down.
And I think the big difference there is that just such a huge part of Echo's kit in terms of damage is going to be that chrono break. And Azir can see it, and he has the mobility to just walk away from you. And unfortunately, even if Echo can get on top of you, Emperor's Divide, just such a powerful ability. And really, when it comes down to it, Selfie, such a confident player that We wondered if he was going to be able to play the Azir, and the answer is absolutely yes. He
didn't
showed up
really
that game.
need to make that many big plays. He just had to like not die, hold the echo off, because Cedron was just slowly ramping up over time. Sitting in the mid lane, free farming. Alfari, he was 0-2 down in the bottom, but it didn't matter because he was also ramping up. And while ESG were putting pressure everywhere, they weren't able to turn it into anything across the map. And Misfits were always picking up all the neutral objectives. They picked up all the dragons. They got one pick, turned it into a Baron, closed out the game.
And unlike our first 2 games, this one was incredibly close and was kind of the story of a slow snowball. The last 2 games have been explosive, no doubt. I mean, huge leads accrued very rapidly through 1 or 2 mistakes. But looking at this game, a much slower snowball coming in from this side. And this is our 3rd blue side victory as well. And we were wondering about the priority there, why they would place it there. But it seems to be paying off very well for both these teams.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how the meta, the in-series meta now shifts moving forward, because Rek'Sai suffering her first defeat, was that due to the fact that Obvious couldn't match the pressure that Wisdom's had in the past, or did he just struggle to not know what's in the lane swap? You have to wonder whether or not he's properly dealing with the situation that he was put in, and how well he's going to be doing moving forward, and if he still values that Rek'Sai.
Absolutely a question we have to ask. But of course, with that win, the set now sits at 2-1 in the favor of Misfits. Can Euronics bring it back, or will Misfits earn their spot in the Summer Challenger Series? Find out when we get back.